Well, the Sunday morning service had been going just as planned. Everything was flowing very smoothly. And the pastor was in the same place that he always was right before he preached his Sunday sermon. And it was tradition in the church that everyone would stand and sing a song right before the sermon. So there he was, standing by one of those shorter behind the pulpit pews, singing away. Near the end of the song, however, out of the corner of his eye, something caught his attention. There's a young couple that was standing in the second row of pews, and they were whispering and giggling with each other. What happened was it seemed that this guy's zipper was down, and his wife had just informed him of this embarrassing situation. And as the pastor glanced down at them, there was kind of a minor commotion, and he saw the young man looking over to his wife, smiling and whispering something into her ear. At the same time he was doing this, he was pulling his zipper back up. And here's where the fun begins. So it was also tradition that a group of elderly ladies in this church would sit on the front pew, and they would always remain seated during the song. Well, as the husband was looking over at his wife and he was zipping up his pants, his zipper also took with it a few strands of the lady's hair sitting right in front of him. And as the song leader invited everyone to please be seated, this young man sat down and he pulled the elderly lady's wig off of her head, and it plopped right into his lap. So how would you like to compose yourself after such a scene? That is actually a true story. A pastor up in Michigan, that happened to him, and we were comparing stories one time, most embarrassing moments, and that was his, that he shared with Jocelyn and myself. So how would you like to compose yourself after that surprise? As leaders, we've all had surprises. We've all had things that we didn't plan on that have happened. I know some years ago I had a surprise with a coworker of mine, and it was many years ago, and I was working in a wood shop. And another worker and I, were on the planer in the wood shop, and basically he took these planks, these big planks, and he fed them into the planer, and then I took them and I would stack them. And we had a great relationship. And we would go back and forth and back and forth. He would try to bury me, try to go really fast, and I tried to keep up, and we had a really good relationship. We got along really good, except for one element about myself. Back in the day, I had a mullet haircut. If you don't know what a mullet haircut is, it's the one that goes about to here, and you kind of kept this nice, but you just let this grow. And it just flat out ticked him off. He was Amish and I was English, and we had a lot in common, but that was the one thing. He just kept getting on me, and he would poke at me and poke at me and poke at me about my long hair. And one day, it was the middle of summer, we were walking to the break room, and he looked at me, and he reached over, and he grabbed a hold of my hair. And he shook it, and he said, "Is Selnet Hayes?" Which means, is that not hot? Isn't that hot? It was the middle of summer. He said, "Is Selnet Hayes?" And that quick, I had no time to think. I just reached back, and he had a 4-button beard going on. I'm not kidding you. It was about 4 buttons down. And I reached over, and I grabbed his beard. I said, "Is Selnet Hayes?" And we stood there, and we just held on to each other's hair, like, what's going to happen next? And his eyes got big, and I was like, this is really weird. And we just cracked up. We just laughed with each other. And we went on our way. And that led to a whole lot more conversations. I'm like, so, come on now, your hair is longer than mine, all this and that. But we had a great time with it. A surprise. Surprises happen, and especially to us as leaders. Personally, I've been involved in a variety of leadership roles over the years. And within the leadership roles that I've had and the persons that I've been able to learn from and some help with their situations, I began to discover a real surprise. By my nature, if you know me, you know that I have tried to handle situations a certain way, but I'm learning that it doesn't work out very well. And basically what I'll tell you this morning is my name is Bruce, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. I do not prefer conflict. I like group hugs over hard conversations. And in the past, what I would do is I would spend a majority of my time keeping people happy. My goal was to keep people happy. But what happened was I did that, but I remained frustrated at the lack of progress and at the lack of growth, both within myself and within the organizations. I discovered that the happier I tried to keep people, the more unhealthy things became. Some of you might be in that same boat right now. I'm just trying to keep my people happy. But the happier we try to keep people, the more unhealthy things often become. And I've seen this a lot in the many organizations and teams that I've spent time with in the workplace and beyond. And this was really what has propelled me to move toward and promote what I'm finding to be a huge culture shift. This is a huge culture shift, and later I'm going to get into a whole bunch of many more culture shifts that I want to share with you guys, but I want to focus in on this one culture shift that is needed in our homes, in our businesses, in our churches, and in all of our organizations. And the culture shift, if you're keeping notes today, that I want you to think about is we need to be moving from a happy culture to a healthy culture. And one reason this really hits home to me is because of where I spent a lot of time. Many of us in here, not all of us, but many of us, to some degree, we grew up in an Amish or Mennonite background. And we learned how to just kind of not address things. We learned how to sweep it under the rug. We don't want to ruffle feathers. But we'll get so doggone frustrated and so discouraged, and it's like, ugh, but we'll just keep it inside and we won't get it out. So I've learned that we need to move from a happy to a healthy culture. You think about this. So giving candy to your kids to quiet them down will make them happy but not healthy. Think about it. Giving candy to your kids to quiet them down will make them happy for a little bit, but not healthy. Treating other people nice so they don't rock the boat. That will make you happy, but not healthy. Have you ever tried to keep people happy and then to try to keep them happy again and happy again and happy again? It leads to an unhealthy environment. Avoiding confrontation with an employee will make them relieved. It will make them it will make them happy, but not healthy. We've heard this before. Whatever you don't confront, you allow. Just let that one soak in. In your home, in your businesses, in your organizations, wherever you are with people, whatever you don't confront, if you are a leader in that organization, whatever you don't confront, you actually say, go ahead and do it. If we're not willing to confront it. So this is kind of like food. Often the more unhealthy food is, the happier it makes us. Think about that. Because it makes us feel good. And it tastes so good. It is not hard to put away the last of the pizza and the last of the ice cream, is it? Just 2 more pieces and a little bowl of ice cream. And you know, we never have that problem when it's kale and quinoa or other words I can't pronounce, or kind of a dry salad. It never happens that way. It's so much better for us, but we don't celebrate that. We don't. we kind of move away, and we want the stuff that feels good and tastes good, even if it's unhealthy for us. So along with this, there's 2 things that I kind of want to launch us off with, and it's this. A happy culture leads us down the path of least resistance. If it is my goal to just create a happy culture, it leads us down the path of least resistance, and it leads us to stagnation. If you are trying to lead your organization and you're growing, you're going to grow like this, and then you're going to come to this place, we call that the plateau. Okay, you're going to even out, status quo, plateau. In the hospital, this means that you're dead, right? It's called a flat line. It's got operating in the flat line. You're still kind of there, but you're not really alive. And what happens is, if it's just nothing but a happy culture, and let's just keep everybody happy, it goes like this, and then it always dips and always declines. Stagnation always is a means to the end, okay? Where we need to get to is a healthy culture, because a healthy culture leads us up the path of great resilience and of great strength and of great sustainability. The organization that you're representing here today, maybe it's your family unit, maybe it's your church, your business, your nonprofit. I'm going to say that I would be willing to bet that one of those two R words is describing your environment. You're either living in resistance or you're living in resilience. And that has a whole lot to do with you as a leader and in your leadership role. Okay? So, I've had the rust knocked off of me big time with all of this stuff, and I didn't like it as I was learning it, but I've been learning it, and it's been good. As I've helped to conduct well over 900 interviews over the last several years, that's a lot of interviews. I ran into this situation where if we would do internal interviews, we might have 7 people applying for one job, which meant one person is happy and 6 people are not. And for some of them, that's the 3rd or 4th time in 6 months that they've seen my face in an interview and they didn't get the job. So who do you think they're not happy with? It's definitely not them, right? Because they got screwed over again. They have to blame it on somebody. And a lot of times, that person was myself because I was in all the interviews. Now, for a people pleaser, this is the worst. This is not a good thing. Because I want to keep people happy by my nature. Okay? So the challenge was then facing the other 6 who didn't get the job. I'd meet them in the hallway, or maybe in a conference room, or maybe in another meeting, in the lunchroom, in the parking lot. And for a couple days, you have to kind of take the cold shoulder, and you just have to buck up and move on. This actually helped me grow a lot. People weren't happy, and I didn't like it. But what I found out was over time, this experience really helped show me that we weren't there to pacify happy people. You guys know what pacifiers are? I don't know if we call them binkies or whatever they are now. But pacifiers, what do you do with a pacifier? You put it in a baby's mouth or an infant's mouth to shut them up. Sometimes we do that with adults, don't we? Just give them what they want. Just do something to shut them up. Just go ahead and give them the raise, and hopefully the problem will go away. How many times does the problem go away? It doesn't, right? So we're learning that it wasn't about pacifying happy people, but it was to be honest and to strategically align people in a way that was best for a healthy culture. This is an intentional choice. So in creating this healthy culture shift, there's 5 things that I came up with that go ahead and write down. I'm going to put them up here on the screen. But these are ultimately necessary in creating a healthy culture shift. And the first one is that we do what's right for everyone, not what feels best for us. We do what's right for everyone, not what makes my job easier. If that is happening in your culture, you are in a healthy culture. You're willing, as a leader, you're willing to take the business. You're willing to be misunderstood. You're willing to take all of that stuff because you know that you're doing the right thing for everybody involved. Next, we acknowledge that happy is easy, while healthy is hard. Healthy is difficult. Healthy is disciplined. A disciplined lifestyle is a healthy lifestyle. The next one is huge. Okay? So we understand that problems left unaddressed will eventually address us. It would be interesting to just go around. We don't have the time to do this, but it would be very interesting if we could all go around and just share where this has happened with us. I was a pastor for 14 years, and I still do a lot of spiritual counseling and a lot of things like that. And one of the things we talk about a lot in that area is either you will stop your sin or it will stop you. Think about that. Either you will stop it or it will stop you. If you choose to stop it, I always say if you're in your car and if the car is sin and you choose to just ease on the brakes, look at your surroundings and say, this has got to stop. This is not safe. And if we ease into the stop and we come to a controlled stop, there's a lot of safety that happens there. If we don't give a rip and we just floor it, we say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go do whatever, and we use that concrete block wall to stop us, we're going to stop, but there's going to be a lot of damage that happens. The exact same thing happens in our organizations. If we don't address problems, they will eventually address us. And they will always address you in the most inopportune time because you didn't plan for it. Amen? Happens all the time. So, in creating a healthy culture shift, can you willingly address issues that you know are going to be difficult conversations? If you can, you're in a healthy environment. We also embrace that healthy is more difficult in the short term, but far better in the long term. It's hard to have that conversation. It's hard to go into these things and people are going to come out and they're not going to be happy about it. And then lastly, this is a huge thing that I've seen in the work that I do. We welcome team members. So if all this is happening and we're in a healthy environment, we will welcome team members who have high character, high competence, and high capacity. This is not from a book or anything. This is just from my observations. Those are the 3 C's. If you are here today and you're looking like, well, who do we hire? Who do we bring on board? Who do we allow to come into our team? Those 3 C's are the ones. You need people with high character in their heart. Okay? They have great morals, great motives. Then they need to be able to do the job. They have high competence. They actually, again, we can't just go around giving group hugs and having nice conversations. You actually have to do the work, right? So you have to have high competence. But the wild card in all of this is the last one. Have to have high capacity. What level of growth do you see in them? The people that you are going to bring on your team from this time forward, what level of growth, teachability, how much learning capacity are they bringing with them? Or are they coming in already capped out? They're already maxed out. They already know it all. So capacity is something to really look for in people that you bring on your team. So the bottom line with this is that healthy people take action and healthy leaders will do the same. And to me, this comes down to the difference between making commitments and making decisions. This is kind of a subset of the healthy and happy deal. So the thing is with this is decisions keep people happy and complacent. This is a huge, huge thing to understand. Decisions keep people happy and complacent, and commitments make people healthy and accountable. You're going to hear some overlap from some of our breakout sessions to some of this material, and it's all true. Okay? So commitments make people healthy and accountable. The reason is because a decision indicates an intention while a commitment reveals an action. Happy environments rely heavily on the decisions that we feel. Healthy environments rely solely on commitments we make. It makes all the difference. So if you're tweeting something or if you just want a nice little thing that you can remember, healthy commitments are greater than happy decisions. Every single time. Healthy commitments are greater than happy decisions. Happy decisions are the funnest things to do. They're the funniest things to make. Let me give you a few examples. So, an example of a decision. You know what? I've decided I'm going to lose 15 pounds. It's January 1st, maybe January 2nd, and I'm just going to let you know about it. And I'm going to let you know about it, and you and you. I'm going to lose 15 pounds. And you're happy for me. You are. You're like, that's great. Good for you. In the moment that I make that decision, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And in that moment that I make that decision, how many pounds just melted away? But I feel so good about doing it. I feel so good about declaring that. Here's an example of a commitment. So I've decided I'm going to lose 15 pounds, and I've asked an accountability partner to keep me on track to lose 3 pounds per week over the next 5 weeks. And they're going to check in with me once a week. Every Monday morning, they're going to check in with me and see how I'm doing. That's a commitment. Which one of those plans do you think are going to work very well? Another example of a decision. Some of you are going to smile. You know how this goes, and you're going to have, by the time I'm done, you're going to figure out, are we a culture of decision makers or commitment makers, okay? So I don't know if this happens where you work, but I've experienced this myself. So example of a decision. You know, it looks like I should be able to get that report to you by Tuesday sometime. Probably should be able to, hoping to be able to get that done. I'm going to try my best to make that happen. You ever been there? Okay, that's a decision. A commitment looks like this. I will get that report to you by 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, period. I'm going to try. I think I might. Hopefully it will work out. Every time we do that, and if we just leave it in decisions, we are letting ourselves out. We have outs, right? I will get that to you by 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. Another example of a decision. Hey, family, I know I was way too busy last summer, but this summer we're going on vacation. And all the kids are like, yeah, awesome. Wait a minute. That's what he said last year, and we didn't go. But in the moment that it was announced, everyone was happy. An example of a commitment. Hey, family, we're going on vacation this summer, the first week of July, and everything is booked. Down payment's made. Here are the pictures. We are going. And here's the proof. So, decisions indicate happy intentions. Commitments reveal healthy actions. In a little bit, you're going to be given, I'm going to make it available, a worksheet, just front and back, decisions versus commitments. It is the single most effective tool that I've been able to utilize and use in the businesses that I've been in to get this point across. And so you are going to be able to get that resource, take back to your teams, and walk through it. Hopefully it might be a little painful, but we need to be organizations of commitment makers, not decision makers. Because there is nothing more frustrating, listen, there's nothing more frustrating in a workplace setting than to have a leader who makes a lot of big decisions but does not follow through. And they do not follow up. But now it's another great idea. And after 2 or 3 don't happen, what do you do? You roll your eyes and you smile and you go, whatever. It never happens. And you learn to not trust that leader. Okay? So why is commitment so crucial in relating to a healthy culture? John Maxwell says it this way. You never know if people are really on board until you ask them for commitment. You never truly know if they're on board with what's going on until you ask for commitment. He goes on to say this is really good. When we ask others for commitment, we lose the uncommitted people and we gain the committed ones. It's the crux, it's the threshold. You ask for a commitment, the committed people are going to jump all over it, and the uncommitted ones are going to freak out. I'm not sure. I need to get my excuses lined up. I'm not really, I don't know. And they kind of stumble around. Okay? When we don't ask for a commitment, we keep the uncommitted and we lose the committed. You do not want to lose the committed people that you already have. So, kind of wrapping this up. I don't know if you're silently agreeing with me. I don't know if you wish that I would hurry up and shut up because it's real in the organization that you're in and the things that you're struggling with. I don't know if you've had your wig pulled off of your head here this morning, and you're like, man, what was this all about? But either way, if we're honest, these two truths I want to close out with should come at no surprise to any of us. Keeping everyone happy in the end makes the culture miserable and malnourished every single time. If it is your goal to keep everybody happy, that is what is going to happen. In contrast, making everyone healthy in the end keeps the culture strong and sustainable. I've said this 1,000 times. If you spend any time with me, you've heard me say this. When expectations are unclear, accountability is unfair. When expectations are unclear, accountability is unfair. A huge job. The number 1 or 2 or 3 things of responsibilities of a leader. One is to always be a problem solver and solve the problems. But next, real close there, is to create clear expectations. Because when the expectations are clear, you can actually hold people accountable. And it takes away all this funny stuff of like, well, I don't want to offend them. I don't want to, then they're not going to be happy. Then I might lose them. And you're going to eventually lose them. You're going to lose them in the heart if your goal is just to keep them happy. It's a Band-Aid. It doesn't last over the long haul. So make your expectations clear. Bottom line here today, in healthy environments, in the healthiest of environments, expectations will be clear, and then here's what happens. When your expectations are clear, and it's a healthy environment, people will either excel in them or they will excuse themselves from them. Persons who are on board, they will excel, and they will get better and better and better. And here's the thing that I've seen over time. If we are really committed to this, if we are committed to healthy environments and creating healthy environments, what happens is you won't have to fire a whole lot of people. They will willingly pull themselves out because you are committed to a healthy environment. Okay? So, will we keep people happy, or will we make people healthy? So, I got a minute or two to describe the last thing that you're going to have with you. And I'm giving you homework. If you know me, I always give you homework. Okay? So you have decisions versus commitments. Jocelyn's going to be up here passing these out. I would suggest at least one per organization and take them till they're gone. The other one is a paper that I put together, a compiled list of culture shifts. I talked about one today, and you guys helped me. I threw this out to some of you. And I said, what's the number one culture shift that you see that is needed in our organizations? And I got 70 responses back. So I talked about one today. So I have a list of 70 culture shifts that need to happen. Things like from hoarding assets to investing in people, from fixed mindsets to growth mindsets. We need to go from building silos of division to planting seeds of one vision. We need to go from work as a career to work as a calling. We need to go from hidden facades to transparent relationships, and on and on and on. 70 of these things. So here's the assignment with this one. Take this back to your teams. Swallow hard, do the hard work, walk through this and say, are there 3 or 4 of these that we can specifically implement in our environment? And that's how we start to get healthy. But it only starts by being willing to lead, to go first, and to have those difficult conversations. You guys have been very awesome. Dan is coming up, so thanks for your attention.